Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu, and I'm back with another Digimon deck profile video. So today I'm going to be taking a look at BT10, and BT10 offers us lots of new and powerful tools to build and iterate on some new and existing decks. And today's deck I'm going to be taking a look at is going to be the brand new iteration on the Sakuyamon deck. So the Sakuyamon package that we got before in EX2 was playing around with the use of options and plugins more specifically, and the BT10 cards that double down and play along with those types of cards, continuing the trend of, well, playing our options and utilizing all of these different plugins for various bonuses and benefits. So with all that said and done, let's just jump right into the deck profile. Starting off with the Digitama, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Viximon. So Viximon is going to be the main Digitama and the only one we realistically need. If you feel like you want to run a 5th Digitama, then by all means do so. But Viximon's ability just helps us filter and dig through our deck, which makes it really, really good. So the condition to do that is on its inheritable ability, where during your turn, once per turn, when you use an option card with a cost of 2 or more, then we get to draw 1 card, essentially replacing the option that we just used, ensuring that we're going to be having as healthy of a hand as we possibly can, just because we are running a decent amount of options, and we do have the ability to reuse some of our options, making Viximon easily the most desirable Digitama for this deck. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Renamon. So this is the EX2 version of Renamon, and this is going to be one of the deck's main digging tools. So it has the on-play ability where we get to reveal the top 4 cards of our deck, add 1 card with Kyubimon, Taomon, or Sakuyamon in their names, and 1 Rika from among them into our hand, and then the rest go to the bottom. So it's just looking for all of the other parts and pieces in her evolution line and our tamer, so that way we could try to make our plays as consistently as we possibly can, and she has a nice inheritable ability for the deck to take advantage of, where during your turn, once per turn, when you use an option card with a cost of 2 or more, then we get to gain 1 memory, essentially making it so that using those options are going to be cheaper and more efficient. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Renamon. So this is the BT10 version of Renamon, and this is going to be another digging tool for the deck to use. So this time she has the on-play ability where, again, we get to reveal the top 4 cards of our deck, add 1 card with plugin in its name and 1 yellow tamer from among them into our hand, and then the rest go to the bottom of our deck in any order. So again, she's just helping us look for our parts and pieces. The other Renamon is helping us look for our Digimon, and this Renamon is helping us look for our options. They're both looking for the tamer, and the tamer is really important to be able to play our options as effectively as we possibly can. So it just makes sense that we want to run as many consistency tools as we possibly can, on top of the fact that she has another inheritable ability for us to try to take advantage of when we're using our options, where during your turn, once per turn, when you use an option card with a cost of 2 or more, then we get to have one of the opponent's Digimon get minus 2000 DP, adding some extra control elements into the deck. And then the last rookie of the deck is kind of a flex spot. It could really be anything you want it to be or you feel like you need. I'm going to be running 4 copies of Pulsemon just because it's still one of the best generic level 3s for any yellow deck to run. So it has the on-play ability where if we have 3 or more cards on our security, then we get to draw 1 card. And if we have 3 or less cards in our security, then we get to gain 1 memory, and if we're at exactly 3 memory, then we get both effects to not only just be tempo efficient, but help with our overall consistency as well. Next, on to the level 4s, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Kyubimon. So Kyubimon has this nice when digivolving ability where it's also acting as a solid consistency tool by allowing us to reveal the top 3 cards of our deck and add an option with plugin in its name from among them into our hand, and then the rest go to the bottom. Then on top of that, she has a nice inheritable ability for us to take advantage of, where during your turn, when you use an option card that costs 2 or more, then one of the opponent's Digimon gets minus 2000 DP, comboing very nicely with the brand new Renamon to add some extra control into the deck to be able to DP reduce while we're passively utilizing our options. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Kyubimon. So this is the BT10 version of Kyubimon, and we're using this card again because it's a Kyubimon by name to use off of our Searcher Renamon, on top of the fact that it does have some really good synergy with the use of our options. So she has a nice when digivolving ability where we get to activate one of the following effects, and the effects that we get to choose between are either A, returning an option card with plugin in its name from our trash to our hand to be able to reuse our plugins over and over again, or B, by trashing one option with plugin in its name, we get to draw 2 cards, so adding more consistency into the deck. Unfortunately, she doesn't have an inheritable ability for us to take advantage of, but she's still just a really good card to be able to interact and play around with the use of our plugins and options. And then the last champion of the deck is going to be 2 copies of Kazemon. So Kazemon is in here just for that hybrid win factor, acting as a solid alternate win condition, just because if we're able to break all of the opponent's security, then we just have a tamer already set up on our field. We could use it to digivolve into Kazemon and basically swing out for the game that way, making Kazemon just a really good card for virtually any yellow deck that wants to use a tamer. And speaking of our tamers, next onto our level 5s, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Taomon. So this is the EX2 version of Taomon, and this is the card that's being able to help us set up our tamers as efficiently and effectively as we possibly can. So she has this nice when digivolving ability where we get to play one Rika from our hand for free, so it just allows us to easily set up our tamer to then use our tamer and help with the use of our hybrid when we're getting to the later stages of the game. Then on top of that, she has a nice inheritable ability that's continuing with the whole control aspect of the deck for when we use our options, where during your turn once per turn, when you use an option card with a cost of 2 or more, then we get to have one of our opponent's Digimon get minus 2000 DP for the turn. So if we use this in combination with the EX2 Kyubimon, and we use this in combination with the BT10 Renamon, then just using an option means that we're going to be minusing 6000 DP on one of the opponent's Digimon, and because all of these are separate instances, we could split it up to hit multiple different targets, depending on what the board state is and how much we want to DP reduce each Digimon. And then the last level 5 of the deck is going to be 3 copies of Taomon. So yes, this is in here just because it's Taomon by name, to use off of our EX2 Renamon to help search and dig for our parts and pieces, making the deck a little bit more consistently, but she also has some pretty good synergy with the use of our options as well, because of her when digivolving ability, where we could use one option with plugin in its name from our hand, ignoring its color requirements without paying its cost. So this is just a super powerful card to be able to utilize our plugins more effectively, just because if we don't have the tamer set up, then we still can use any of our plugins off of this ability, and just the fact that we could use it for free is still just really good, because free value is good value. And then as far as our level 6s go, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Sakuyamon. So this is the EX2 version of Sakuyamon, and this card is an absolute beast to round out how we can try to utilize our options. So she has this nice when digivolving ability where we get to unsuspend one of our Digimon, and for each tamer we have in play, we get to return one option card with plugin in its name from our trash to our hand. So the more tamers that we have set up, the more options we could recur, so that way we could try to use them over and over again to get whatever value we can, just because there's a lot of really strong plugins that all do different things, so we could kind of toolbox our options to do exactly what we need when we need it. On top of the fact that just being able to unsuspend one of our Digimon allows us to make more aggressive lines of play. Then on top of that, her secondary ability states that during your turn, when you use an option card with a cost of 2 or more, then one of the opponent's Digimon gets minus 3000 DP for the turn. So between this and all of our other instances of DP reduction, we could reduce up to 9k, which is still a lot of DP to reduce all at once, allowing us to be able to handle a wide variety of different board states and situations in terms of our control type elements. And then the last mega of the deck is going to be 3 copies of Sakuyamon Maid Mode. So Sakuyamon Maid Mode helps round out what this deck is capable of, and we have different ways on being able to approach this Digimon, just because we could either Digivolve her for 3 on top of a level 5, using her as the main level 6 as well, on top of the fact that we could even Digivolve her for 2 on top of a level 6, so that way she could even gain extra value for us utilizing our level 6s as well. Then she has a nice when digivolving ability where we get to use an option card with a plugin in its name or a yellow option card with a memory cost of 5 or less from our hand, ignoring its color restrictions without paying its memory cost. So this just allows us to use any of our plugins easily and efficiently, and possibly some other options as well. Then after we use the option card, instead of trashing it, we get to place it on the top of our security stack face down, so that way it then becomes a nice security threat that the opponent is going to have to deal with and try to figure out how to play around. Then she has a nice when attacking ability that basically allows us to swap forms, where this Digimon can digivolve into a Sakuyamon from our hand for a memory cost of 1 and ignoring its Digivolution requirements. So the whole idea is to try to get up into our level 6 and then swap in and out between Sakuyamon Maid mode and our main Sakuyamon, so that way we could try to be as aggressive and as efficient with not only just the use of our options and the use of our tamers, but the use of our Digimon as well. But next, on to the options, I'm going to be running a nice healthy suite of all of our different plugins, or at least most of our different plugins. So all of these plugins have the ability where if you have a tamer in play, then you get to use this card without meeting its color requirements, so it just allows all of our plugins to be as playable as we possibly can. But as far as our plugin suite that I'm going to be running 2 copies of Defense Plugin C. So this is a 5-costed plugin that has the main ability where one of your Digimon gains the blocker ability and the reboot ability, and it can't be deleted by the opponent's card effects until the end of the turn, adding some well-needed protection into the deck to try to make it so that our Digimon can survive as best as they possibly can. Then it has a nice security ability where we get to reveal the top 3 cards of our deck, and we get to play 1 Digimon with a play cost of 4 or less from among them for free, and then the rest go to the bottom in any order, and this card gets added into our hand, so we could use it when we feel like we need to. This is why we want all of our level 3s to have some really decent on-play abilities, so that way we could try to use them during the opponent's turn when they're checking our security to do various different things with. Next, I'm going to be running 1 copy of High Speed Plugin D. So High Speed Plugin D is going to add some extra aggression and make our swings a little bit safer because its main ability states that for the turn, one of our Digimon gains the jamming ability and it can't be blocked by the opponent's Digimon. Note that the attack can still be redirected, so if they have something like a Renamon X antibody, then they still are technically able to block us, but it does just turn off a lot of the opponent's defensive capabilities, and the jamming, like I stated before, just makes our Digimon a little bit safer to be swinging with, so that way we could try to be as aggressive as we possibly can. Then its security states that we just get to draw a card and then add this card into our hand to help with the overall consistency of the deck. Next, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Digivolution Plugin S. So Digivolution Plugin S is one of the best, if not the best, plugin for us to run, just because it allows us to easily climb our stages as efficiently as we possibly can with. So its main ability states that not only do we just get to draw a card, which is already pretty good, we then get to have one of our Digimon digivolve into a Digimon card from our hand that has a Digivolution cost of 3 without paying its Digivolution cost, which is going to be our level 5s and our level 6s, so that way we could try to make our plays as efficient as we possibly can. And then on top of that, its security ability states that we get to reveal the top 3 cards of our deck, add a Digimon card from among them into our hand, and then the rest go to the bottom, with this card being added into our hand so we could use it at a later turn, again, helping with the overall consistency when it's checked in security. And then the last plugin that I'm going to be running is going to be 1 copy of Offense Plugin A. So Offense Plugin A, like High Speed Plugin, is just in the deck to try to help it make it more aggressive, and what's making Offense Plugin A make the deck more aggressive is the fact that its main ability states that one of our Digimon gains security attack +1 for the turn. So this just allows us to be able to deal more damage, which is something that the deck really wants to do, just because yellow isn't necessarily known for having the highest damage output, so that way we could try to put a lot of pressure onto the opponent when we're making our aggressive plays. Then on top of that, the security ability is again adding more consistency to the deck, where we get to reveal the top 3 cards of our deck, add 1 tamer card from among them into our hand, and then the rest go to the bottom to get the most out of our tamers. And then as far as the other options of the deck go, I'm going to be running one copy of Reinforcing Memory Boost just because this card is still that good, even though it's limited to one. So it's still an option that costs more than 2, so it can still synergize with a lot of our cards. Unfortunately, it doesn't cost 5, so we can't use it for free off of our Maid mode, but that's okay because this card is still just that good. So it has the main ability where we get to reveal the top 2 cards of our deck, put one of them into our hand, and then one of them into our security stack face down at the top, and this card will go into the battle area to set up its secondary main ability of Delay to gain us 3 memory at a later turn to be able to make more powerful plays after this card is set up. And then the other option card that I'm going to be choosing to run is going to be 3 copies of Yellow Memory Boost. So Yellow Memory Boost is in the deck for more consistency and setup potential, so that way we can make even more powerful combo plays with all of our different memory boosts. So it has the nice main ability where we get to reveal the top 4 cards of our deck, add a yellow Digimon from among them into our hand, and then the rest go to the bottom in any order, with this card going into the battle area for its secondary main ability of Delay to gain us 2 memory, so that way we could use this in combination with some of our other cards to be able to easily utilize our plugin options, because most of them do cost 2. And then the last card and only tamer of the deck is going to be 4 copies of Rika. So Rika is a really good card to help round out what this deck is capable of, just because it's allowing us to use our options more effectively. Well, at least our plugins more effectively. So she's going to be also acting as the deck's dedicated memory fixer, so she's always going to be hard sending us to 3 if our memory is ever less than 3 at the start of our turn. Then, during your turn, when we attack with the Digimon with Renamon, Kyubimon, Taomon, or Sakuyamon in their names, then we get to suspend this tamer to use one option card with plugin in its name from our hand for free, so it just allows us to easily utilize our plugins on top of the fact that our Digimon already want us to use our plugins, and the Digimon also have the ability to use our plugins again, so it's just a lot of plugin value to be able to do multiple different things and line up very strong power plays depending on what plugins you have access to at any given moment, which the deck has recursive ways to be able to use our plugins, so we could get lots of value off of seeing any of our plugins. And then there's still just a whole bunch of different tech and tools to incorporate into the deck to really customize the deck and make it your own to handle various different situations and various different metas. So if you want to run a little bit more of a tamer package, then we could use something like Patamon from BT1 as a good way to help dig out our tamers, on top of him just having a generically good on-play effect because we're already wanting to play at least Rika in the deck, so this is a good card to combo with and pull out from our defense plugin C. And then as far as other high value on play effects in the rookie slot, we do have Starmons to help with our overall control and DP reduction. Then we even have the BT5 Renamon to think about to try to help apply security tac -1 to stave off some of the opponent's potential damage. Or if you wanted to run an anti-meta Floodgate rookie, then you can, with Pulsemon being one of the better ones in the current meta and environment. Then we do have some other level 4s that we could run in the form of Pidomon being one of the better ones just because he has the blocker ability native to him, so he could potentially stave off some damage while also being a really solid tempo tool. And if you want to run an alternative level 5, then we do have other level 5s to think about, with Rise Greymon being one of the better ones just to help be able to play our tamers. Then we also have various other level 6s to think about utilizing, so we could use the BT5 version of Sakuyamon as well, just because, well, she is a Sakuyamon, even though she's not playing around with options. She's helping debuff the opponent's security to make our attacks safer, and she also is adding some extra control by basically turning off the opponent's raising plays by making their Digimon have security tac- when they move them out, which is just super powerful at stopping a lot of OTK-based strategies. And then we even have some spicy tech in the form of Avenge Kidmon as an alternative level 6 that the deck can play, just because we're not afraid of hard playing him, just because he reduces his play cost for the options not only in our trash but the opponent's trash as well, and with us already running a large option suite, that's not the worst thing in the world, considering we still do have lots of decent ways to be able to redraw into those options. And then on top of that, his on-play ability for actually utilizing him just helps with some extra control by being able to delete some of the opponent's mid to low level Digimon. And if you wanted to run a level 7 to help round out what the deck is capable of, then Omnimon Merciful Mode is one of the best level 7s that we have, not only to use off of Avenged Kidmon, but off of our yellow level 6s as well. And then if you just want to run a really decent card to help with the overall flow and functionality of the deck, then you could even think about including Kazemon, just because we are already playing a decent amount of Renamons, so being able to hard play this card for 1 is pretty decent, and the value that he brings is adding some extra DP boost, memory, and card draw when we Digivolve. Then we do have various other options that we could run in the deck, like some other plugins, with Upgrade Plugin O being probably the worst plugin, but it's still not that bad, just adding some extra DP and gaining some memory out of the security. Then we do have some really good control tech and options that we could run in yellow in the form of Wyvern's Breath as one of the bigger ones, just because it's an option that costs more than 2, so it still will trigger all of our option-based abilities, on top of being the largest amount of DP reduction to help control the opponent's field. Then if you wanted to, you could also think about running Sunrise Buster, just because this card combos very nicely with Sakuyamon Maid mode, allowing us to easily have access and use this card to, again, try to help play our Tamers for free and DP reduce the opponent's Digimon for each of our Tamers that we have in play. And if we wanted to, we could even run Tai and Kari as a really good way to also be able to set up Sunrise Buster when we don't have Sakuyamon Maid mode, to be able to use it for free, because we get to ignore its color requirements. Plus, Tai and Kari Kamiya is also a decent tamer to help debuff the opponent's security, on top of the fact that it also will help gain us some extra memory based on the security states of both players. Then if you wanted to run a purple tamer just to help it use our options and gain some passive memory off of using our options to make them more playable, then we do have Mimi as the best card to interact and synergize with our options. And then we still just have other yellow tamers that we could think about including in the deck, all depending on the type of setup and situations that you want to think about to best utilize each of the different yellow tamers you could possibly use. But for the most part, this is just my interpretation of a Sakuyamon deck, and I think there's just a lot of different ways that you could approach this deck to make it really powerful and effective in this meta. I don't necessarily think that it's going to be the greatest tier 1 hyper meta competitive deck in the BT10 environment, but it's definitely not a deck to sleep on, and it's not a bad deck to take and play, having a lot of different tech to be able to lean into to handle various different situations. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, and down in the description below are a couple of different ways you could support me and the channel. So I do have a TCG Player affiliate link, so when you use that link to buy cards off of TCG Player, then some of that money will go to supporting me and the channel. I also do make and sell playmats over on Overcard Gamers on Facebook, so when you buy a playmat with my design, then some of that money will also go to help supporting me and the channel. And on top of all of that, I do have a Twitch account over on twitch.tv/Zenitsu, so giving me a follow and a subscription also helps support me there, and I do play Digimon on top of various other games on that platform as well. So thank you everyone for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.